The Vanderbilt Commodores bounce back in a huge way. Tyler Tanner, Jalen Washington. This team comes out sharp, goes on the road, takes down the Tigers. We are live. Here we go.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We are live. Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the world. I'm your host, Corey Burton, and we're going to react to this game. Is this the most impressive win of the season, considering the circumstances? What does it mean for the future? How did they pull it off? Tyler Tanner, Jalen Washington, both shine in this game. They take down Auburn 84-76. We're gonna react to that. We're gonna talk about this game because this was an important game for the Vanderbilt Commodores, and we're gonna dive into it. But this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with the bet on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Now, 84-76 is your final. Here's the scoring for Vanderbilt. You had Chandler Bing with 32 minutes, by the way. His most minutes that he's played all season. He scores 8 points. Nothing else really from the bench. No other contributors. Mike James, 12 minutes, no points. But the starting lineup came up huge. You had Tyler Tanner with 25. I said 23 earlier, but he had 25 points, actually. Jalen Washington with 22. McLaughlin with 12. Nickel with 10. And Okirke with 7. Nickel was a little bit cold from three-point land. He couldn't quite get things to fall consistently, but it didn't matter because Jalen Washington came to play. This front court came to play. They knew it was going to be a challenge for them, and that is how they were able to do it. Now, Tyler Tanner, again, I just saw that 5 as a 3 for some reason. I shorted Tyler Tanner 2 points. Sorry about that. But he scored 25 on the road with a hurt thumb nonetheless. And just I feel like a broken record when I say this. Just another impressive performance from Tanner. I mean, that he's a special player. He's somebody that just coming into this season is like, okay, this one's going to be pivotal. He's going to be the piece that if he's playing well, this team's going to operate at a high level. And lo and behold, that has held true. He is scoring. He's a scoring machine. He's a leader. He gets knocked around, but he just gets right back up. He's tough as nails. And I think Tyler Tanner's got a bright future. He's an NBA player for sure. He's shown that. The only thing he has to do is just get a little bigger, grow, get in the weight room a little more, get a little bigger, stronger, faster for the NBA. But right now, I mean, the dude's special. He can shoot, he can drive, he can dish, he can play some defense. He's tough. I mean, that's just the kind of leader that you need, and the kind of player that rallies the team, or gets the team to rally around him, picks everybody up, makes sure everybody plays at a high level. And again, just 37 points on Saturday almost led a really impressive comeback. I didn't see it because I gave up on the game. I was like, they're down 20. It's getting worse. And lo and behold, that showed me I'm never going to give up on a game. But they were more consistent tonight. They came out of the gates better. And of course, the front court played outstanding. Jalen Washington leading the way with 22 points. Okirke with 7. McLaughlin with 10. There was a point where Washington and McLaughlin were trading threes. I think they had within like a 4-minute span, they had 4 threes between the two of them. And they took that battle. They Michael Jordan this and said, it's going to be a front court mismatch. I took that personally, and they played their butts off. And that is something that is going to be beneficial in the future. That's something that when you need big performances in the paint, they had a ton of points in the paint. I'm gonna go to the team stats here to see how many points in the paint that they had, because that was the biggest thing for them. They had 32 points in the paint. They actually scored 2 less than Auburn in the paint. They had 2 technical fouls too, and 1 flagrant, but that was Auburn. Vanderbilt had 34 points in the paint, and they were they didn't really run that much, which is kind of surprising. They only had 5 fast break points, but they were 46% from the field, 35% from 3, which is not great because Tyler Nickel was not quite as effective there. They just scored in bunches. They were effective in turning over and turning over Auburn. I mean, they were sharp. They were confident. And that was the biggest key for me. And going back to this list, that was that was one of the biggest things that I noticed that they had to do. Come out sharp, come out ready to play. And if they did that, they should have been able to win this game. And they did. They came out sharp. Tyler Tanner, I think he had 6 points within the first few minutes of the game. I mean, he scored pretty quick. These were the keys to success. Come out of the gates fast and sharp. Tanner needs early and easy buckets. He got that. They didn't quite get Nickel going from 3. They struggled to get him going consistently, but didn't matter. Washington picked up the slack here. Washington was 2 of 2 from 3-point land. Scored 2 of them. McLaughlin was 2 for 2. Nickel was 2 for 8. Okirke took 3 3-pointers, was hit one of those. And of course, Tanner was 1 for 4, had a big one to stop a big momentum swing for Auburn. Had a massive 3 there to do that. But again, Chandler Bing continues to be a story moving forward. I think he's pushing for more playing time. He's somebody that come tournament time, you're going to see him pick up a lot of minutes, and you're going to see him develop over the backstretch of this season. He's going to be very, very important come tournament time, because when Duke Miles finally comes back, if Frankie Collins comes back or when, those 2 guys are going to be rusty. And you're going to have to rely on Chandler Bing. Like, Chandler Bing is going to have to get to a point where he can score double digits off the bench. You need more from Mike James. You need more from Tyler Harris. Those guys have to contribute. You can't goose egg off the bench, right? Especially right now when you're getting a lot of minutes. When you're getting, you get, going back to the stats here, Mike James got 12 minutes. Tyler Harris got 6. Maybe there's got to be an avenue for Jaden Leverett. Maybe he gets more minutes. But when you get Collins back and you get Duke Miles back, I think you can rest your front court guys a little bit. You can rotate those guys in. Chandler Bing also has earned a chance to get significant minutes and important minutes at that. And he's getting better. He's getting more comfortable. And his stat line doesn't necessarily show that, doesn't necessarily reflect that, but he is getting better, and you are seeing a marked improvement from Chandler Bing. But that's the thing that stood out to me. The biggest thing that stood out to me was the start. As I said, Mark Byington out-coached Stephen Pearl. He out-coached him. It just seemed like he was a step ahead all night long. It seemed like the guys were, I really like the Mark Byington after a loss. I really think that this Vanderbilt team is sharp, and they play with that edge and that chip on their shoulder after a loss, that it's a totally different team. It was a totally different team from Saturday. Saturday, they just kind of limped through that one, just trying. I guess they felt with Oklahoma being 1-9, they could just kind of limp through that, and they didn't really need their full effort. And, well, Oklahoma smacked them. Auburn, they knew they needed to bring it. They knew it was going to be a hostile environment, and they silenced that crowd very, very early. And so just impressive on how they won. They were able to get to the basket. They were able to score. They were able to do a lot of great things for this basketball team and for their tournament chances, for seeding purposes, just everything they needed. They were able to get there and get in good position to really kind of position themselves to make a run. So We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue breaking this down. How do they win? What does it look? What does it mean for the future? What does it mean for seeding? Is this the most impressive win that they've had? We're going to talk about all of that next. All right, I want to talk about Indeed, because hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed Sponsored Jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit specific criteria like skills, certifications, and location. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want somebody who can help. I would want somebody with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and you can target exactly what you need. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mismatches. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a fit. And here's the stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, and according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed. And the Winter Olympics are here. And FanDuel is the right place to go. And if you're anything like us, you're locking in for the events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years, like curling, alpine skiing, ski jumping, snowboarding, hockey, the USA versus Canada hockey game. That's always intense. And that's why I've been following the Winter Games on FanDuel. And that's why it makes sense to follow on FanDuel. From medal counts to individual events to finding your edge on the sports you care about the most, FanDuel gives you ways to stay connected to the action. Like I said, curling, the drama of the curling matches. They start slow and somehow get intense. Speed skating, that's been fun. Those have been decided by inches. Hockey games, they're just intense. They feel different. The country pride coming in on the ice. Even niche events become must watch when you're fully locked into the competition. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. All right, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. If you're an everydayer, look, join the Everydayer Club. It's awesome. You get ad-free audio. So just think about it as you're walking down the sidewalk, walking to your favorite lunch spot, pop in the headphone, boom, ad-free audio. LockedOnVandy.supercast.com is the place to go for that. Also, members-only Discord access. You get on the Discord app. It's a fun way to connect with fans. It's a fun way to represent Vanderbilt, and we can create quite the community on that site. So make sure you jump in there as well. $5 monthly, $50 if you choose the annual plan. Locked On Vandy, Everydayer Club, LockedOnVandy.supercast.com. Join the Everydayers Club today. Now, we're live here, and Vandy takes down Auburn 84-76 on the road at Neville Arena in a game that, quite frankly, I don't think there was a whole lot of confidence there. To be honest with you, there wasn't a whole lot of confidence coming into this game just by the way we played Saturday. The injuries were starting to pile up. You just felt like the guys were getting exhausted a little bit. Like Tanner was getting beat around. He had a bad thumb. Duke Miles was out. Frankie Collins was out. It was just stretched thin, and it was on the road, and it was already a tough matchup to begin with. All that was a recipe for a loss. And they didn't. They came out sharp. They came out with a chip on their shoulder. Tyler Tanner scored 25 in this contest. Jalen Washington scored 22. You had 4 of your 5 starters in double digits. Chandler Bing played 32 minutes, which is huge for him in that type of environment. That's going to come in handy during tournament time. So I ask you, is this the most impressive win that Vanderbilt has had all season? Leave your answers in the chat. Leave your answers in the comments, however and whenever you are listening to this. But to me, to answer that question before I get into the how, yes, I think given the circumstances, given what they needed to happen, this was their most impressive win all season because of how depleted they were, how exhausted they were, just how bad they played on Saturday against Oklahoma. It's already a tough road environment. I mean, Auburn, you can say what you want about Stephen Pearl, but they're a program that has a lot of pedigree right now as far as NCAA tournaments go. They're a team that's well recruited. Tahad Pettiford is an amazing player. Their front court, the two Keishans, have been playing extremely well all year long. They've just, for some reason, they just can't put it all together. But it's a tough environment. They play well at home, despite losing to Alabama. But it's a game that you just hope they come out sharp, and you just hope that they were able to put it together, and they did. Tanner had 25. Washington had 22. Your other two of your other starters, Nickel had 10. McLaughlin had 12, and Okirke had 7. They were well connected tonight, and that's the biggest thing. And that's how they were able to take the lead, push the lead, and ultimately hang on to the lead. And this game showed you how tough the SEC was, because I think in most scenarios they probably run away with that at a certain point, especially the way they ended the first half. I think it was a 16-2 run, if I remember correctly, how they ended the first half. But it's a great win. SEC is tough. It's a roller coaster league. If you look around the league, everybody's doing this. So Vanderbilt is not any different in that regard. Just thankfully they're on the upswing here right now. And you go into an environment like that. I'm going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time convincing me that, given the circumstances, given the environment that they played in, that wasn't the most impressive win. Now I know you're going to say the New Haven game is the most impressive win we've had all year. I know that's where you're going. I know you're going to say Texas Southern or Arkansas Pine Bluff. I mean, God, those are tough games. No, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, the Mississippi State game, given those circumstances, coming off a blowout against Arkansas, that was a pretty impressive win. How you just completely dismantled them. But that game was at home, Kentucky. Auburn was on the road. Now up next, you got Texas A&M. And that's on Valentine's Day. You've got to figure out a way to keep this thing going. You've got to like consistency down the stretch, I think, is going to separate who's going to win this league, who's going to do well in the NCAA tournament. I mean, Arizona just lost for the first time. They're probably likely the consensus favorite to win the whole thing. But when you get in the tournament, anything's possible. So you have to figure out ways. And I think Vanderbilt is doing this. And this is something that I'm noticing. And they're learning with failure, and they're learning from their failures. They're learning from their losses. It seems like they're just finding ways to make their disadvantage in the front court an advantage, because teams that have good front courts, they're big, they're physical, they can rebound, they can shot block, they can do a lot of different things. Vanderbilt just doesn't quite match up, but they're finding ways to navigate around those mismatches. They're finding ways to win. They're finding ways to succeed within their limitations, especially right now, their injury depletion limitations, because all three of your front court guys are starter worthy, but they've had a nice rotation that was able to keep them fresh. Now they're forced into action, and you got to get quality minutes. Like McLaughlin got in foul trouble. That was something that kind of made you go, oh, McLaughlin's in foul trouble. This is not good. But you got great minutes out of Chandler Bing. He was productive. He took care of the ball. Even though he only scored 8 points, his minutes were quality because of what he was able to do on the defensive end of the floor, what he was able to do just from a ball movement perspective, and just making sure the offense just stayed running smooth. And that's kind of what you want to do as a sub. If you can score in double digits, great. I think at some point you're going to need him to score in double digits. But tonight you just needed him to execute the offense, and he did just that. So, like I said, and like Dores said, great win tonight. SEC's tough, right? And that's how I made this graphic right before he hit those 2 free throws. And I think I just kind of looked away from the game and didn't realize he even hit those 2 free throws. I just kind of was listening to it as I was preparing this stuff. So, but yeah, impressive win. I mean, phenomenal win for this group. So what's next? What's on the horizon? Also, give a quick shout out to baseball. They open up their season in the Shriners Children's College Baseball Showdown out in Arlington. They lock horns with the Horned Frogs at TCU. They start that series off on Friday. They start that tournament playoff on Friday, so that's going to be a lot of fun there. We'll give a little shout out next there. We're going to wrap up this game. Impressive road win. We're going to do all of that next. It's the Locked On Vandy podcast. Stick around.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Dawn Staley and South Carolina remain on top of the SEC standings after handing Tennessee their worst defeat in program history with a final score of 93-40. In the 43-point win, South Carolina shot 69% from the field. Tessa Johnson had a perfect shooting night, scoring 24 points, shooting 4 for 4 from the floor, including 2 threes, and made all 4 of her free throws. And UCLA remains undefeated in Big Ten play, topping Michigan 69-66 as Player of the Year contender Lauren Betts put up a double-double, scoring 16 points, collecting 16 rebounds, and adding 5 assists and 3 blocks. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
All right, wrapping up here, Locked On Vandy. We are live. Auburn goes down, 84-76. Vanderbilt takes them down on the road at Neville Arena with a depleted roster. They limp in and just take victory from the Auburn Tigers. An impressive performance from Tyler Tanner, 23 points. Jalen Washington with 22. Just completely impressive all around. Just a very well-connected team tonight. Sharp, taking smart shots, playing good on the defensive end of the floor. Just being able to maintain control of that game throughout. And they were able to get off to a good start, push the lead. They were able to end the half on a great run. They were able to kind of push the lead, nudge the lead out a little further in the second half. Auburn made a run. They were able to hang on. They were able to every time Auburn would gain a lot of momentum, they would hit Vanderbilt would hit a big shot, gain it back. That's resiliency. That's the kind of way you need to play because it's easy to front run. It's easy to get out on somebody that is bad or playing poorly in that particular night. Vanderbilt, against a very good team who made a run and made a valiant effort to come back, played extremely well. So what's next? You got the Aggies of Texas A&M. AG is their leading point scorer with 14 points per game. Also their leading rebounder. And Lane is their leading assister with 4 assists. A&M is scoring 90.9 points per game. Only giving up 78. They're on season average 47% from the field, and it's going to be a fairly even matchup here for the Aggies and Vanderbilt, but it is at Memorial Gym, and this should be a very, very sharp environment. This should be very good test for the Commodores, and just kind of see if they can continue on their upward trajectory. So it's going to be an interesting contest. And Adam, about Duke Miles, nothing new. He's just fighting to get back, fighting to get well. It's just anytime you come off surgery, it just takes longer than you expect, especially with the lower extremity injury. It just takes time because of the nature and how he plays. It's just tough. And Frankie Collins, I don't think anybody knows. He's been cleared medically, but I nobody knows on that. But before we get out of here, baseball's getting their season kicked off against TCU out in Arlington, and everyone's excited about that. And I'll have more on that later. But I during that commercial break, I had a pivot moment, and I wanted to shout out Shea Ralph and the women's team real quick before we get out of here. They've been absolutely outstanding this season. They're fifth in the country right now, 23-2, second in the league. Obviously, South Carolina is the class of the SEC in women's basketball. They proved that on the court a few weeks ago with a 103-74 thumping of Our Lady Dores. But Shea Ralph's crew is winners of 3 straight against Florida, Kentucky, and most recently against Oklahoma. They play Texas on Thursday night, so that'll be fun. Texas is 4th in the country there, so that'll be a well-fought battle for the women's team. Michaela Blake's 25 points per game. She is the leading scorer on this team. But this team is constructed very, very well. They've got a lot more depth now. Sasha Washington is your leading rebounder with almost 10 rebounds a game. Aubrey Galvin with 6 assists per game. You have Justine Pissot with also scoring 11.5 points a game. Aubrey Galvin scoring 12 points, 12.6 per game. And then you've got really good contribution even into your bench a little bit. And so this team is very, very impressive as far as how connected they play. Shea Ralph and Mark Byington have very similar styles in how they just kind of get after you. Again, Vanderbilt went into a really bad 2-game slide. And I think some Vanderbilt teams of the past, and even last year's team, probably, I don't think would have bounced back quite as quickly after those 2 losses. You get thumped by South Carolina, and then you turn around and lose to Ole Miss in a game that was played in Birmingham because of the weather, and a game that very could have easily went south for either team given the circumstances. It was a well-fought game. Ole Miss just came out on the better end of that. To come back and respond with a thumping of the Florida Gators and a close-fought win against the Kentucky Wildcats, and, of course, a pretty sizable win against the 10th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners. That was probably the statement game there where Michaela Blake's had 34 points. So I'm very excited about what this team has going into the NCAA tournament. There's some potential here for a really special run for this women's team. And of course, everyone is looking up to South Carolina. And right now, I don't think there's a team in this country on the women's side that can beat South Carolina. And that's including UConn. And I mean, South Carolina and Dawn Staley, what they have going on is unbelievable. So that's something that, come tournament time, that's going to be an interesting topic of conversation. But what I like about Shea Ralph's team is they'll get after you. They force the Sooners to commit 21 turnovers, and they score 26 points off of those turnovers. And that's something that really helps you, of course, in this sport of basketball. So they're tenacious and they get after you. Michaela Blake's is one of the top players in the country. She's a lot of fun to watch if you haven't gotten a chance. And then, of course, Gallivan as well is very good. So I just wanted to give them a shout out because I don't feel like I give them enough of a shout out. And yeah, Adam says it all. They're amazing. They're a very deep run type of team. Of course, with the NCAA tournament, there's a lot of luck involved too, and you just kind of have to hit your stride at the right time. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know why Collins is back. I think that's the biggest mystery. Going back, Doris, to your statement, that's the biggest mystery of the night. Why is Collins not back in? So, but again, We'll keep this party going in the comments section here. I'm going to get out of here, but thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Of course, always spring football storylines, anything you guys want to cover in football leading up to spring practice, with baseball, with basketball, both men's and women's, anything you want me to cover, just let me know. Just drop a line, just drop a comment. Make sure you like and subscribe. The athletic program is right now at an all-time high for Vanderbilt. They're doing well in the three major sports. Baseball's up on deck, pun intended. And with that, it's going to be a fun rest of the winter / spring going into the summer. Got a lot to talk about, got a lot of exciting things with all the sports. And so with that, I'm out of here. Make sure you join the Everydayer Club while you're at it, and we'll catch you here next time. Locked On Vandy. Like, subscribe. We'll see you back here on the flip side. Peace. Anchor down.